20th anniversary, Tim, of the formation of the NWO. Bash at the Beach saw the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, take on the baby faces of the rest in peace, man, Downers Grove very own Randy Macho Man Savage and and Sting. When the third guy that they had claimed came out, and it was babyface Hulk Hogan.
Babyface.
And came in, turned on Macho Man, turned on Sting. Basically revitalized his career by becoming a heel and formed one of the biggest factions, one of the biggest heel factions in the history of pro wrestling.
That is correct. And weren't you saying it was Nash's birthday as well?
Nash's birthday. I believe that he is, he's like 57 now.
Yeah.
He's an old, man, we're getting old, man, and these guys are wrestling gods, man. I remember that right there, and these guys made me a wrestling fan again. And on the flip side of it, with the WWE side, it let them basically go into their pool and push their wrestlers. So they're absolutely right. Without them jumping ship, Vince McMahon had to look at his pool and said, I can only get so much talent here. I only have so much money to spend, because they were losing almost 2 years in a row. They almost went under until the writers decided, we have all this talent here, and there you got the likes of, you already had The Undertaker, but you got the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mankind, Triple H,
Goldberg,
Well, Goldberg was still WCW.
Was he?
But it was, what a great time to be a wrestling fan, man.
Man, what a great time for wrestling that was.
Absolutely.
With WCW, WWF, and ECW.
Absolutely. Oh, can't forget about ECW.
No,
Talk about the 90s being the golden era of pro wrestling. And again, the top rated shows weekly, Tim, at that time were Monday Night Football, and respectively were WCW and WWE, man.
Yeah.
Now it's the product is
Vince McMahon bought up all his competition, and
how sweet for him though, man.
Nice, yeah.
I think one of the coolest moments as a wrestling fan. I had a chance to meet him actually. I was a stockholder and I went to New York in 2000 to be a part of the meeting, and actually met him, the wife, Stephanie, and Shane.
Nice.
How cool was it to be able to basically buy out your competition, and then you have at one time heading the Raw show was Eric Bischoff, who came basically the guy that you hated was trying to put you under, worked for you, and the other guy heading up SmackDown was Paul Heyman, man.
Wow.
How cool was that? And you're just sitting back there folding your arms like, that's right, I'm the man.
Yeah. And then there's that one infamous Monday Night Raw where he crapped himself.
Well, who's that?
Vince.
He did? I don't remember that.
Oh, man. It was like...
He peed himself.
No, he crapped himself.
Did he?
Yeah, and he was wearing white pants,
too. Lord, that's gross.
Yeah, I think they only got a quick shot from him, walking away.
I bet they did. Yeah. Censors,
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody will ever see the Blue Meanie footage.
What's that?
The dude that fell from the rafters.
You mean that's the Blue Blazer? Blue Blazer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible. I remember watching that pay-per-view as well. And it was
what about the most recent accident they had that they were already trying to cut it out? They cut the whole part of the show out.
Which was what?
Somebody got hurt. I can't remember who it was.
There's been a couple things that
the
dude
got. He had
he snapped his neck back.
Yeah.
One of the newer guys. I can't remember his name. It was actually on a pay-per-view.
It
was in Chicago. It was at the Allstate Arena.
Yeah.
He went underneath. He actually tried to slide underneath, caught his neck, jacked his neck back, had a concussion. Yeah. Luckily, he's okay. He's still able to wrestle another day and live and breathe another day. But it's scary stuff. You don't realize it. I mean, it is choreographed and it's predetermined in the back.
Yeah, but
the writers. But yeah, these guys. I mean, same thing we're talking about the late Owen Hart and other wrestlers that have come in and just hurt themselves, and also with the with their drug-free policy, with their wellness policy, and Roman Reigns, who happens to be I think The Rock's second cousin, basically was busted for substance abuse and or PEDs maybe, and they basically wrote him off the show, but they came out and said he's suspended. So he was basically the champ at the time, had to cough up the championship, and is on the sidelines. Hope he comes back like Hogan did as a heel, because that's going to be a way to try to revitalize his career there.
Since you mentioned illicit drugs or PEDs, we got to talk about Mr. John Bones Jones.
Yes. Scratched from the card tonight, UFC 200, probably their biggest pay-per-view yet.
He was scratched just not even 5 days before the fight, and they had to find a replacement, which was...
Anderson Silva?
Who is ancient, but he is a Silva.
He went in there, man, gave it his all, and he lost.
You know what? I got so much respect for that entire Silva family.
And the Gracie family.
The Gracie family.
They're like the Kennedys of UFC, of
MMA. And they're legendary trainers to newer guys now.
Absolutely.
I heard somewhere that UFC may be sold for $4 billion.
Wow.
Man, could you imagine buying the UFC, dude?
Good Lord, man.
Wow, and who's their competition? Nobody.
No, nobody.
Nobody. They
You
bought
got the Bellator? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
They bought up the other fight. Well, I forget what it was called, but they bought that up, and they were pulling a WWE and buying up all their competition, which is good for the sport because now all these guys have one place to go to and fight rather than 17 different pay-per-view events that you don't know. Maybe you like one guy in this event, but you don't want to watch the whole thing.
Now, are they crazy or are they just stupid for pulling one of their biggest names right before his fight?
I mean,
because is it integrity or is it just a bad business move?
Dana White is a no-nonsense kind of guy, and he runs his company the way he wants it run. So when you've been busted for beating up your girl and you're high on cocaine, and you come back and you test hot now for drugs, not PEDs, because they didn't specify that it was PEDs, because I'm pretty sure the reports have been saying drugs, so it's probably cocaine again. And cocaine only stays...
It's a hell of a drug, baby.
It's a hell of a drug that only stays in your system for a day or two, so he was lit up like the day before he pissed. Oh.
How much of an addict you got to be, man? Can't even control yourself if and they tell him like anything. Hey, man, I'd stay clean on this certain day or up until this day, man, and he couldn't, man.
Or you got a trainer who's like, look, you got to drop in 3 days, man.
Right.
Here's some.
It would be wise for you not to do anything up until then.
Not only that, you're a superstar athlete. You're on the top of your game. You're the head of the class.
Right.
So you're miles past anybody else in the UFC. Everybody can name Jones, but
right.
say like Chael Sonnen, who,
right.
That's it also gets me when these athletes of other sports are out there driving their Lamborghinis drunk, leaving them on Lakeshore Drive, or having
Lance Briggs
beating up your girl in the elevator.
Floyd Mayweather.
Ray Rice. And then you had a Mayweather thing, like, come on. All that money, you're going to put all of that at risk just for, like, one night of stupidity.
Well, he's got money already, man, so he doesn't care.
So, and then we have an outcome for the fight, right?
Silva lost. And Brock Lesnar won. He beat Mark Hunt in a unanimous decision.
This was his first fight in, like, how long?
It's his only fight, actually. He's only on lease, basically, from WWE. He's still contractually, under the WWE and Vince McMahon. It's basically good. It helps out both brands because he's probably your biggest star, crossing over to have one night, one fight. And he'll go back to taking half the risk. He's a beast, man. There's nobody in WWE that can even stand in the same ring with him. And he's got a huge fight coming up, or huge match, I should say, with Randy Orton at SummerSlam at their next big August pay-per-view. He's the guy. He's a Suplex City and stuff like that. And he's got, probably one of the best hype man in pro wrestling history, the former owner of ECW and Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
In his corner. And that, guys, he's a money-making machine, man. He's all business, man. He's a monster, man. He's just a scary, scary dude to step in there with.